Hi guys, and welcome to part 2 of the R2D2 tutorial here in Blender. So in the previous tutorial we set up our reference images and set up our viewports and also placed in our two primitive objects which are going to be used as the basis for R2D2. So actually making the basic shape of R2D2 is not too hard, but some of the details can be a little bit tricky, particularly the panels, because this is a hard surface that's curved, but you want to maintain the smoothness of the curve but also the hardness of the edges, particularly the panel edges, and those are the trickiest part to draw in, and that's what we're going to start doing in this tutorial. So we'll switch over into material mode so that we can see through our object. Now we're going to want to apply a subdivision surface modifier to keep this looking smooth, even with our smoothing turned on in the shading option. Particularly if you zoom in close, you're going to start to begin to see some of the straight edges that there are here. We want to keep it looking as smooth as possible. So first thing I'm going to apply is a subdivision surface modifier, and we'll create two. We're going to apply this, and we're going to do the same to the top here. So subdivision surface, we'll make it 2 and apply. That's going to increase our polygon count, but it's going to allow us to make the modeling of these hard edges but also keep the smooth curve of the body. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate and then hide that new duplication, so we can always switch back if necessary to the base cylinder, and it will be the same size. And we're going to work on this part of the model here. So now we'll go over into our material view. I'll go over into edit mode, and what we want to start doing first of all is drawing in the panels. So we have some panel edges here. Now with the subdivision surface, we've pretty much got panel lines which line up in the majority of vertical places. We're just going to go with the nearest panel line. If you start putting in additional vertical cuts, it can begin to mess up that nice curvature of the mesh. So that's another benefit of the subsurf modifier, is it gives us more of these vertical lines, which then the chances are they line up as close as we can already to these panels that we're going to want to manipulate. So all we need to do really to start with is put in some horizontal loop cuts that line up with these panels. So we'll place one here, and we'll place another one here. Now we can actually come in and grab these panels. If we hit I, it will inset those panels a little bit. It'll inset those edges. I'll do it by 0.01. I'm going to scale on the X just a tad. Okay, now these new faces that have been created are what we are now going to want to select. Now we're also going to need a panel line running over the middle there, so we'll put that in first of all. So we'll make a loop cut. Put it close together. Okay. Now we can go around and grab these faces. Once we've got all of these faces selected, that's when then we're going to extrude them inwards to create a crease. Now, because we've already applied the subsurf modifier, it's not going to make a mess of our hard edges. If we'd have left the subsurf modifier on and not applied it yet, it would also be subdividing all of these edges, and you end up with curved edges which we don't actually want. So that's why we applied it before continuing with making these panels. So now we've selected all those edges, it's just a matter of extruding inwards, and you can see in our distance in the lower left area there, you can see the number changing as we slide this around. So we only want to go in just a little bit, so we'll go say negative 0.02. We don't want these to be too deep, and enter, and that will give us a little recess to the panel there. Actually, we may want to extrude just a little bit more. Let's say negative 0.04. Make it a little deeper. Okay. So now we've done that, if we were to switch back out into our solid view, you can see that we've got a bit of mess now that needs clearing up, and that's going to be easily done with a edge split modifier. So just apply that edge split modifier there, and you'll see that now tidies up those edges and gives us nice sharp panel lines. So we'll go back over to our front view, back to our material, and what I want to add in next will be these rings that are around the top. So back into edit mode, loop cuts again. We'll make a loop cut around these two top edges. Now we want another loop cut, comes around here. Next thing then is to select all of the faces going around here. Now I haven't yet found a shortcut that will select automatically for me a loop of faces. I can only select loops of edges. When I select the loops of faces, it seems to go vertically down the cylinder rather than around in a circle, so it can be a little bit cumbersome having to go around and select each one of these, particularly as we've already applied the subsurf modifier, so there's a lot of polygons to select. Well, once we've gone all the way around and we've got all of these, we're going to do an extrusion that will extrude a 0 amount, and then we'll just scale this all inwards, and that will give us a small step in the surface, like a channel that's been cut all the way around the top of the body there. So once we've done that, E to extrude and enter. So we extrude a 0 distance, then we'll go scale. You want to scale on all axes a little bit, and go to a solid view. You'll see that now we've got that channel running all the way around the body. Back into edit mode. We're going to do the same thing again with this channel here. So we select all of the faces. If somebody knows a quick shortcut for selecting this loop of faces, then please put it in the comment at the bottom of this YouTube video, because it saves a lot of clicking. So there are other ways of creating these body panels. If you look around on YouTube, there's several tutorial videos that show different methods. Some I find work better than others. This isn't necessarily the best method for creating these panel lines. It might not give you the most authentic results all of the time. However, after playing around for a little bit of time here with the R2D2 model, I found that this method was working the best for me. So back over there into object mode in our solid view, and you can see now we've created those panel lines in our body, and we've managed to maintain sharp edges, but also the smoothness of the curvature of the body. The final thing that we want to do here is going to be this recessed area, and then these two little panels that stick out there. So the recessed area is pretty easy to do. We'll just go back over into edit mode, go to our transparent material, we're going to need loop cuts again. We're going to loop cut in this area. B for box select, and we'll select all those faces. And those faces are just going to be extruded inwards. And that concludes what we need to do for that. Finally, we need to do these two pieces here. So you can see they're not flat. It's raised out and recessed in. So we'll start off by doing this top right hand edge there. So again, we're going to want to go to our front view, view our material, into edit mode, check out a reference image. So where it narrows is where the recessed area is, and the part which sticks out is on the right side there. So that's what we're going to follow. So we're going to start off, we'll grab our knife, and I'm going to round up to the nearest line which is already there. So we're going to go from here. We'll actually hold down Control, and it's going to go across to here. So that gets us a straight edge. So we'll just select this edge that we just drew in. And we'll drag it up into position here. Get the knife again. Hold down Control. Make our cut. Deselect those two edges, and we'll drag these down. Once that's done, I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm going to drag vertexes into position. So we'll start here, Get all those vertices. I'll drag those up. And then up here, drag those down. Let's make our minor adjustments. Okay. Then we can box select, get all of those faces. And this is just going to be extruded outwards. Only a very little amount. Just enough. Give us a small edge, small bump. Now I want to select all of the edges around here, and we're going to give those a bevel. Now by beveling some of these edges, it means that later on when we come to texture, and it's going to look more realistic, because these slightly beveled edges are going to catch the light and help to give us a more realistic look. Shall bevel those edges. Let's check back with a reference image. Okay, yes. We'll bevel all these edges here. So it's as simple as hitting Control B to bevel these edges and drag out how much we're going to bevel. Now we only need to go a very small amount of bevel. And we'll increase the segment count. Come back over into object mode, to our solid. And see that helps to catch the light, so it makes it more realistic looking than some of these other edges which don't have the bevel. So it just helps a little bit with the realism of everything. So we'll go back to our front view. Back into edit mode, we'll just finish off making this top one, and the bottom one I'll leave you to do yourselves how to switch over into time-lapse mode, because you should already have a good idea as to how this is done. This bottom one is basically done in the same way, it's just going to be a mirror image of the one above. So if we check back to our picture here, we have a slope and a flat surface there. So I'm going to make this area come out and that area go in. So we'll get our knife, we'll cut angle like so. Again, cut like so. And then we'll cut inwards. And again here we cut inwards. So this will be our sloped section. This will be our section that comes out. That'll be the slightly recessed section there. So I'm going to start with the recessed area. We need our knife tool again just to finish off this cut here. Actually, let Control and try and get this edge straight. One, and our other edge here. Okay, So I'm going to grab these two faces, and they're going to be extruded in slightly. Now I want to join up these vertices here because it's supposed to be sloped on this side. So we'll go to Vertex Select and we'll grab this and this vertex. We go to Merge at the last. And then this and this vertex and Merge at last. Now we can grab these edges here. And this edge. And that will all be extruded outwards. And then again, we're going to want to merge those edges. So back into Vertex Select, select those two vertices, merge at the last, select those two vertices, and merge at last. That gives us a sloped edge there. So you can see the difference between the edge which is beveled and the edges which are not. Those edges which are not beveled kind of disappear. So you can see the advantage of adding that beveling to the edges. So we'll do that to these edges also. Just go around and select them. Once all those edges are selected, Control B, and apply bevel to those. Now you can get a better idea as to how that's looking. I also want to bevel these edges here, so we'll add those in as well. There. Okay. So that's how we create this shape which sticks out from the body there. Now you're going to do the same underneath. So I'm just going to leave you to do that on your own. I think that's long enough for this particular tutorial. You should have a good idea now how to put in these panel lines and how to begin pulling out these shapes. So I'm just going to switch over into time-lapse mode while I work on this next section down here. And then in the next tutorial, we'll continue adding in the rest of these panel lines before we begin working on these finer details of the front of the body here. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.